Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So, if you're into the ascension process, your spiritual development, moving up the evolutionary ladder of spirituality, etc., welcome in. Um, Lean in. This is a little bit complicated, but I'm going to see if I can unravel this for both of us. Okay, so now in our time on Earth, we're at a very, very crucial point where old world wounding is coming up and inner child healing, mother wounds, etc. Um, Generational curse breakers are really getting tapped with a bunch of stuff. People in general, however, empaths, light workers, star seeds, we're really being pushed to move at rapid pace to heal old world wounding for ourselves and our generation, our timeline. Forgive me, my cats are going at it. Sound bite if you can hear them. They rarely fight. However, the one is just going deep. So yeah, hopefully I don't have to stop to prevent bloodshed. Usually I don't get in the way of whatever they're going through because they rarely fight and there's some reason that is coming up. As long as it doesn't draw blood, I let them be cats. So anyway, so we're really pushing right now for the old world wounding to be healed in those inner child wounds, and we're going to be tapped to those places. We're going to be drawn and brought to those places with other people. And now, one of the fallacies that I've heard is, well, I don't talk to that person anymore, or I separated from my family, or I separated from that situation. And if we're not really done with all of that healing, or we have more work to do with that healing, whether it's deep in us or we're doing it, as part of our work, our light work, it really doesn't matter. We're being called to those places, and we're going to find thematically that we're running sometimes into people who carry, even though we left that situation, they're still carrying the same energy package, the same energy imprint, the same signature, just with a different face and a different place. However, there's something that smells really familiar about this. What is this? And I always like to relate things. My spirit guides talk to me metaphorically a lot, and work through the metaphysical understandings and turn things into a parable type experience, where I can understand it based in my own life and start looking at it symbolically and how is this showing up to me. So I'm going to relate this to you in story form. In my own personal life, I really have separated physically from all people that were most toxic with me, not to me, with me. We had very unhealthy and toxic relationships, and they were very ingrained patterns from childhood, that is common for most human beings on the planet. We learn everything in childhood, and if it's toxic that we learned it there, then we carry it into adulthood. So it's not like it's my freak former experience. It's just that I was a little bit surprised that I started seeing themes showing up in my life again. We're chipping around the onion, we're chipping around the onion, and we get another layer of it to look at and say, oh, yeah, we're getting a lot of strong infusions, solar infusions, etc., getting a lot of downloads from outer space and off planet stuff, dimensional stuff, higher dimensional beings. Then seems reasonable that we're going to come across those themes again. And what happened is that I recently had several experiences, different people, different situations, some related, some not to each other, some completely outside of anything that I normally do, just random. But there was, excuse me, a cluster of energies that I kept running into. One of them was a seductress Black Widow type energy imprint that was definitely in my child in a female form. Then there was a bully. The bully archetype was something definitely from my childhood as well, and it came in multiple formats when I was a child, from a masculine energy imprint that was both masculine or male and female. Um, Several. So I mean, it's an archetype that showed up, and then there was also the archetype that I have both played and that I have seen played out, within my own life of being the one in between who's trying to, work both sides, that bridge, that I'm going to stay safe by playing both sides of this. And then there was also a wounded victim. Now, a lot of these roles, kind of intersect with one another, and this is not the straight Carl Jung, archetypes as they are. I'm just giving you the broad brush of how that showed up in my world and what I grew up learning, being victimized, being a bully, being a bullier, or being a bully victim, being the wounded person who just, couldn't cope with anything, being somewhat beguiling, though I rode mostly in that victimized state, and the runaway, I'm too scared, I can't cope with this, no, 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 just very into my own self and assume that it's me, it's me, it's me. That's very common. It's very common for us on the planet to either stand in the role of being highly victimized, highly wounded, or we're out there doing it, and usually we're doing both. We just tend to ride in one or the other. And the way that we do those is how that displays as kind of the seductress as a bully, the straight up, masculine presentation, whether it's male or female, of real aggressive and out here, straight. That is very much a bully as well. It's just easier to identify. And the one in the middle that's trying to play both sides, that's not necessarily bullying per se, it's manipulating. And it's all manipulation of trying to control the scene, control the narrative, control what's going on because I don't like the way I feel being out of control or not getting what I want, whatever it's based in. But it's generally some sort of manipulation of the scenario, manipulation of me, manipulation of you, however I can get this job done that I don't really have to feel this discomfort anymore. And so when different situations started filing in recently, I thought that I was done with this. I separated. I don't do those relationships anymore. Well, yes, you do. You have work to do. And I was really surprised because I found myself in situations where boundaries were really squishy and I didn't even realize just how much time, energy, and my mind was being occupied with these real squishy boundaries where I was still giving a lot, and not really having a reciprocal relationship and thinking, well, okay, that's just that person. Gaslighting myself because gaslighting was very common in my world, and gaslighting myself about what all that meant to me, that people who, are disrespectful on some level, though it's, the seductress is not going to be disrespectful outright. The bully, they're going to be very obviously disrespectful. And the one in the middle is disrespecting everybody's boundaries because they're playing all sides, So there was a lot going on and I was feeling victimized. I was feeling wounded. I was feeling, very uncomfortable and starting to feel very frightened a lot and very wounded and confused a lot. And that's a huge red flag that if there's confusion, I don't ride with confusion generally because I have worked very hard to, exit myself from situations that cause that confusion. Confusion for me at this point has to do with where the boundaries are and who's talking to me and why am I feeling confused by this? It's because I was being gaslit. That's exactly what was happening. And gaslighting, again, if I didn't already say it, is just a form of manipulation. It's a tactic that humans use, that we use to get what we want, to allay our own fears and squash our own discomfort with things, that if we feel like we can meddle and get the narrative to sound good, then we really don't have to face our own hood. We can put it out there and say, oh, that's about you, obviously. And I'm not about pushing it out there and saying these people, they, them, they, did this to me, because that remains in the victim state. However, looking at a scenario and saying, what am I actually seeing here? Let me look at this from a neutral point so that I can do a scene survey and see where are all the players on the field? Where am I? What role am I playing here? And get into that archetype study real quickly. And I wasn't doing that. So for quite some time, I was just, bobbling along and going, oh, okay. And gaslighting myself with, okay, I'll just, overlook that comment, or I'll overlook the fact that this doesn't seem terribly reciprocal, or I'm getting a lot of advice that I'm not asking for and I don't give. That's not how I play with people. Is, I'm not looking for some sort of a guru in my world that's wearing a human face before I consult, my own intel from within here with my team, because I reach for God source first, and then other people can guide me. Obviously, we all have gifts we can bring. However, I was just straight up meeting, a lot of people that were not hearing me. They were twisting what I said, and I was feeling like I needed to explain myself, that that's not in fact what I said. I got accused of just straight up lying, and somebody told me what my intentions were and that I lied to them because they really knew what I really was doing, behind the scenes and stuff, and being called slimy and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, and gaslighting myself that, oh, somebody else said it to me, is their observation, it must be true. And that is a fallacy, to believe that everybody on the planet is working their life in such a way that they're doing self-reflection and that they're actually looking at the field in as neutral a place as it could possibly be seen. We're not all doing that. And even if we're trying, so to speak, we're not all very skilled in that if we're still operating from wounding. And so for as long as I was operating from my own, must be me, I'm just stupid old Katie, I'm not getting this, it must be me, that okay, well, I'll work harder to explain myself and tell them why they're incorrect. I'll work harder to, just like when I was a little kid, keep working harder for that validation, that acceptance, that sense of, but that's not right, you didn't understand me. And the problem with that is that when we're tripping around that onion, man, it's brought up because that's the space within us, at least for me. That was the space within me that needed to really, no, get more in touch with that. Look at the whole scene, get out of that confusion. It took a while. Get out of that confusion, get triggered to the point of just absolute, a freak out in my mind of, oh my God, what's going on here? That, oh yeah, here's where, Katie, it's like riding a bike. We can talk to you about riding a bike. We can tell you all about riding a bike as the guides. We can tell you what that experience is all about and we can explain it to you. We could even get on a bike and show you. However, until you do that experience, you aren't going to know how to do that. Now, what gets trippy and weird in spirituality, for me anyway, is that when we ride a bike as a human, we learn how to ride a bike. We're pretty solid on any bike that we get on, right? And yet, in all the little parts of ourselves, those little soul fragments, those little parts of us that aren't as developed as other parts of us, or they're not 1122, they're not integrated well or mature or spiritually understanding the game here, there can be some, little parts of us that are just in the dark somewhere, not understanding, not acting in the dark perhaps, but acting in the blindness and the scales on the eyes of I don't know what's going on here. And so I act the way that I did when I was 8, when I did when I was 2, or when I was 14, or whatever age it was, that I got kind of stuck in that part of my life. Doesn't mean that it's my whole life. It doesn't mean it's my whole personality. It means that that soul fragment part of me, at whatever age that it kind of arrested right there, then it's going to need to learn to ride the bike. And the download that I got last night, because I was still trying to pick apart, how is this coming back at me like this? That how did I miss this? How did I get into these conversations with strangers, with friends, with people that I'm working with, people that what people I don't know, people I do know, and just what the hell is this? How did I manage to do this? That I'm all the way here at 56 years old, and I've been doing this for a while, working really hard, and clearing out, and blah 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 blah. How's this possible? And I got the very quiet and lovely download that, first of all, let's not hop up and down on this too much, and back up off that how could I thing. And we're going to explain it to you, but you got to take a deep breath and be ready to hear the reasons that you're right instead of wrong. You already know all the reasons that you think you're wrong. So how about we start from a new premise of how can you be right about this? And I don't mean right from an egoic stance. It's that that part of me was very right in the way that it was responding and reacting, because it did not know at the age that that stopped kind of understanding or knowing. That part of me did not know what was going on. It really didn't. And so even though other parts of me that usually are in charge, know pretty well, that part did not. That was the one that stood up and said, hey, I need to be healed. I want to do it now. Thank you. And getting a lot of support from the higher dimensional beings, then let's do this. So what was given to me in that download is that, imagine if we were going to teach you how to drive a car. We're going to get into faster mode of transportation, right? That imagine you as a new driver, this say 14-year-old, I think it was about a 14-year-old feel to that part of me that was going, I don't get this, what do they mean? I've got to explain myself why I'm okay to live on the planet, I'm okay to take up space here, I need to explain why, please hear me, of course I didn't do this, etc. Really justifying my existence hard in my own mind, and then incorporating other people who were just playing their part. So they said to me, my team said to me, imagine you're getting into the car. We've already explained this to you. We've told you, and same as the bicycle, we cannot drive with you or for you. We can sit with you, but that part of you, that little 14 or 15-year-old part, whatever part it is that's the soul fragment coming home, it needs to sit in the driver's seat. And so it is quite possible that your guides are with you the whole time we're here. Your whole team is always with you. And somebody was there next to you when you were in the driver's seat. So even though my own higher self, my own team, my own guides was all sitting in the right hand seat of the car, that little part of me that did not know how to move forward with setting boundaries and was kind of, dipping out into, freak out land and not knowing what to say, not knowing how to install boundaries with squishy people who don't have them very well, and moving into that defense mode. That little part needed to drive the car and learn that it's not going to be perfect the first time out. It's not, you wouldn't expect that a brand new driver, even though you verbally would tell them, the driving instructor could tell me all day. I could sit in the ground school all day long. And still, when it comes to that practical application, the car is probably going to come back with, at least a little scare in it or something, or possibly a ding, possibly an accident, all kinds of stuff. The more that I'm integrated and listening to my higher self and my whole team on the right hand side, and the more ground school I've done, then I'm, pardon me, that timer thing, the more that I have set up the ground school and all of this beforehand, it does work very well to be able to functionally do the practical application of that knowledge better. However, it's still going to be, rough for a few minutes perhaps. And, it was just such a relief to me to know that that's how it is, that my higher self can be sitting over here and looking to integrate that part. Let's learn how to be a skilled driver, little 14 or 15-year-old. Let's learn how to be a skilled driver, because you want to know how to drive and be independently moving, right? You want to be able to drive your own vehicle. You don't want to have to ride in anybody else's vehicle. And so let's get you on board, because that's what you want to do. And I knew that that part wanted me to do it because I was scared, I was confused, I was angry, I was upset, I was sad, I was justifying my very breath, and my life and my presence on the planet, and looking for an explanation of how I can, I don't want these people to think that, I'm a liar or something, or how dare they. I mean, it went through all iterations of this, that squishy boundaries were a huge problem in my life for my whole entire life. And they were working their way through for, several years now, 5 years now, being very good about boundaries and being far more sigma female about some stuff. However, that little part, even though it's shocking that I don't generally run into boundary issues, what the hell is this? That little part did not have that skill yet. So let's get her in the driver's seat without the screaming, carrying on, and telling her she's stupid, telling her that why don't you already know how to drive? What are you doing? Do you see that you get ready to hit something? Do you see that? My own higher self and my guides could be telling me, and were telling me of, hey, this is how you can do this. It's just I was inside and losing the battle, if you will, kind of inside of me, with not shutting down the fear, shutting down the ability to hear very well, shutting down that ability to see, the clarity isn't coming in as well, the discernment isn't coming in as well. And that's a key indicator for when I know that, oh, you're at a healing spot, you're at a place on the onion again, because clarity and discernment are usually pretty spot on, and intuition and guides and staying very connected to that whole system. So, of course, why would it be that we went from ground school where that's pretty safe, that I'm just getting information, observation, and yet move into going into the actual vehicle to drive for the first time? That part of me, of course, there's a little more, intimidation, a little more anxiety, a little more fear, or a lot more, old way of doing things was patterned in for many, 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 many years. And so that part, why would it know how to do that gracefully right off the top? Why wouldn't it take a few times, as many times as it takes, and easing up off the idea that, I was doing it wrong, and that I actually was intending to be squishy in boundaries with people, or intending to be responsive with them or reactive with them in some way, any situation, not just, friends, strangers, it was a theme. Yet another clue, if it's coming up thematically, baby, you got work to do. So it was a matter of being able to hear that download, and thank God I did, because I felt so confused, so hurt, so upset with, what's going on here. I don't attach to people, and get butthurt, or attach to situations or jobs or, clusters or something. Generally, that's not the way that I ride. That okay, let people make their own decisions, and then not allowing myself to make my own decisions and feel good about them. And some of them were not the greatest. It wasn't the greatest skill demonstrated in a first time driver. It was just quite a surprise to see that, oh, we're introducing you to another part of yourself that needs some time in the driver's seat with her whole team and with her cheerleaders and with the expert drivers, the higher self and that whole team that do know how to do this and stay connected to us. Keep your eyes out here, however, hear us too, and know that it'll get easier, it'll get better, it'll be a gentler process as you continue to go, and you'll be just as on par with the rest of those that already know how to drive the car. It's all cool. Just be kind to yourself, and not allowing those people out there are not, the ones that are in my car with me. They're simply the obstacles and the things that are in my way. They're the obstacles I need to navigate in order to not crash my car. So, and something else that came up that I thought was so profound is that, I thought, well, why are there some situations that are easy to disconnect from and just they drop away, the minute that I recognize it and say, hey, that's not cool, it just, they drop away. Literally, those situations, like that was canceled, or that person didn't call back, or that, job was no longer open, or whatever situation it was. Some things are like fleas. They're all parasites, right? Some things are like fleas, and they say, this is a little bit too difficult, we're going to hop off and go to another host, whatever the situation is. And some things are more like parasites that, what do you call that, ticks, that they've dug in a little bit longer with those squishy boundaries. They've dug in a little bit harder and a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. So it's going to take a minute to, get those worked out. However, it's all parasitic. Any situation that's going to ask me to change my view of myself or continue with a view that doesn't work anymore, that is not kind to me or that person. I'm not here to save other people from their own parasitic experiences. I'm here to keep me from experiencing those parasitic situations that are going to ask me to believe something about me that isn't true, that I'm not worthy of life, that I'm a liar, that I'm a whatever, fill in the blank. There's a whole bunch of things that our teachers out there, our obstacles out there are happy to help us, wreck our car, by stopping to believe that somehow somebody threw something weird in the roadway and I hit it, that I'm somehow a horrible person because I hit it, or that, I brake hard and I break my nose on my steering wheel or something. It's none of it has to be taken as that I'm a horrible person. We do, however, when we grow up being told and believing that we are a horrible person, that we aren't worthy. And other people's wounding, trauma bonding is a thing. And the more we're trauma bonding with fleas versus ticks and things like that, that's going to be those things being thrown into the roadway that makes that first driver experience a little bit cluttered and clouded and mystical of what is going on here. I don't understand this. And yet coming back into that understanding of it's okay. Give yourself a break. Please be kind to that part of you that really is very happy to finally be able to drive, and doesn't want to be screamed at or told, internally, that dialogue of, oh, that's how stupid could you be? Why didn't you catch this? That's not going to be helpful. And it's actually going to cause that part to want to retreat and not take complete agency or authority of being able to drive and live and motor around independently. So I hope that that's been helpful to you in some way. And I hope that you enjoy your day, no matter what part of the day you're in, and get within your skin because you're divine. It's absolutely fine. And we do know how to navigate those greasy, weird little situations. We can navigate them with grace and skill. Eventually, it may be bumpy, it may be kind of raggedy, and it might be kind of ratchet. It might be whatever it is. It is whatever it is. However, the more we plug in with our guides, our own internal higher self, to put that in as a co-pilot, if you will. Jesus is my co-pilot, whatever level of divinity, our higher self, and all of that with the higher realms. The more that we put that in charge and make that our co-pilot, we still have to run the avatar. We still have to run the automobile, and be gentle with ourselves as we remind ourselves that I'm a new driver in this specific area of my life. Even if I'm crushing it as Mario Andretti in a lot of other places, if I'm not right there, then be very gentle with ourselves and saying there's no reason that that part would have known that, because it doesn't always translate that I can do this, for 5-10 years, and I'm this way, I'm good, and got that Sigma female thing going, yeah, okay, fine, no problem. Yet that part, clearly it hit a bump where, oh, we don't have everybody on board with that integration into, yeah, we're all independent, automobile drivers. We are all independent parts of self here who get to drive independently and free of the, gaslighting and the trauma bonding and the wounding of other people telling us something about us that we no longer wish to drive around believing. So, as I said, get within your skin and your divine. It's absolutely fine. Enjoy yourselves and be very, very kind as you motor around your life. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye, my beautiful friends.